I'm a real-world Challenger business jet captain and former airline pilot. Any procedures or techniques I discuss with you today are strictly for flight simulator use only and for our entertainment. Always consult a professional flight instructor for flying lessons. Well, welcome back to Foxtrot Alpha Aviation. And in the last video, we had a good look at the exterior of the aircraft. We did a walk around and we looked in all the nooks and crannies of the Challenger 650. And today, as promised, I'm going to do a safety inspection on the aircraft. It won't be a long video, but it'll be kind of a continuation of the walk around that we did. So normally, prior to a normal power-up checklist occurring, a safety inspection occurs. And as I mentioned in the previous video, it's actually something that's done prior to the walk around. So as we stand outside and admire our brand new beautiful paint job of the Foxtrot Alpha Aviation Challenger 650, we're going to head right inside here. So we don't at this point need to take any of the covers off. We're just going to walk right into the plane. We already talked about how to do that. So as we go into the plane, we're going to have a look around all the different parts of the aircraft that the passengers will be using and would potentially be using in an emergency. So we'll sit down on the flight deck here. Actually, we're not going to quite sit down there. We're going to have a look around here first. So the first thing we do is head over to this section and grab a flashlight. And what we're going to do is I'm going to be flipping back and forth between slides like I did in the previous video, and hope that works for you. So we're going to quickly look at the circuit breaker panels, and we'll mention a few things there as well. Okay. So with the slideshow here, what you can see is the circuit breaker panel behind the captain. And what I'd like you to notice here, we'll just zoom in here, is that most of these are AC. Okay, so everything on this side is AC versus DC, and most things that are on the left side or the captain's side are going to be essential. So how I kind of remember that, or I was told to remember that, is that the captain's essential, kind of a joke, but the captain's essential, and everything else is going to be on the right-hand side, and that can tend to be DC related. Okay. Next slide. What we're doing, sorry, I'll just come back to this one quickly. So I want to make sure that all the circuit breakers are in. There isn't any circuit breakers that are collared and we don't really know why, or they're maybe, subject to an MEL or something like that. I want to verify that all the circuit breakers are in. And to do that, you really kind of want to head to the side of a circuit breaker. Here's the co-pilot side. So we want to look at the circuit breaker, and I tend to use a flashlight with this and make sure that it's not popped, and they are quite hard to see. So there is the other side. There's the co-pilot side by their feet, having a look at all the circuit breakers, making sure that they're all in and flush. And there's the captain's side. So these are all essential, as you can see here, versus these side are all DC essential. So AC left and right is the DC. So that's really all we're looking at is circuit breakers. So again, everything is labeled A row, B row, and then you can see they have a column of numbers. And so we have to identify something very quickly. We're going to look at the procedure. It'll tell us C row, and it'll tell us which number, and then we can quickly identify which circuit breaker we're looking at. Okay, so we looked around there. We looked around down here, made sure that those are all okay. Then we headed over to here, made sure all the circuit breakers were all in over here and in over here as well. So next thing we're going to look at is continuing on the left-hand side here. We're going to start looking this area and over here. So just get that set up. Again, this will be the left side of the cockpit. And we'll start the slideshow here in just a second. Okay, so again, looking at the left-hand side, the oxygen mask, we want to just make sure it's fitted. These are doors that open up on the left-hand side and the right-hand side. They're hinged right here and right here. Want to just make sure that the mask is in fact installed properly. We don't check anything at this point. This is more of a visual check, and that's all we're really doing at that point. Next one we'll look at here. Now, so this is going to be on the left-hand side. Circuit breaker panel is right here. So this is where the goggles are kept. So these are smoke goggles. So if we had some type of smoke issue, we would don them from here. What I'm doing here is I'm just going to reach over to the package that you can see here with the little flap on it, and just, I don't tend to actually open it. I'll just give it a bit of a squeeze and make sure that the goggles are inside. There's another look at the oxygen mask. One thing that you can see here is this little tab. This tab is very important. This tab is, if it's down, it's in the 100% position, and if it's up, it's in the emergency position. So for all of the procedures that we're going to do, from a QRH perspective, it would say 100% unless otherwise told to do so. Okay, so now we're looking behind the captain's seat, and you can see there's a flashlight there. So this is the actual one for the aircraft. It has to be on board. In here, I think I have a slightly better picture. This is the crash axe that has to be on board, and this is the cell phone. There's a good picture of it. So there's a cell phone of the satellite phone. There's the crash axe, and there's the aircraft flashlight, and all of the other equipment that is stored on the left-hand side. Very important piece of equipment, which is behind the left-hand seat and on the right-hand seat, is this little pouch. And I'm going to go into that more detail on the when we review the right-hand side. But keep in mind this pouch is there, and we want to lift that up and make sure that you can just see a little bit of there is the yellow contents of it. This is not really too much anything, but this is just the power plug-in and the USB jack for whatever you need to use it for. Typically used to charge your iPad in flight, that kind of thing. And here's a spare headset. Okay, very, very important. Underneath of the seat, so we can, I'll just move this around a little bit here. So in the plane itself, underneath the seat, so what you're going to be looking at here is the view from this direction. So if I'm drawing an arrow, it's underneath of the seat here. Okay, we'll come back to slideshow. So underneath the seat is the life vest. It's very important that you know where the life vest is. Obviously, for if you need it, during a ditching type situation. I really like you to think about the crash that happened not too long ago in Hawaii, where the 737-200 took off, and almost immediately after takeoff, they lost engine power, and just before turning base to final into Honolulu, the aircraft actually ditched. And I understand that that was a black cockpit when that happened, and from just listening to the crew and everything, it happened extremely fast. So you can't be guessing where your life vest is. So You can look at my scratch here. I've got life vest under crew seat left and right. So we'd verify just by squeezing it that make sure that the life vest is in fact inside. Okay, coming back here. So now we've looked over this area. Circuit breakers are all good. The mask is in here. Oh, sorry, the goggles are in here. We've looked at this area. This is all good over here. We're going to come over to the right-hand side, and there's some more slides for that in just a minute. Okay, starting from the right-hand side. So on the right-hand side, on the floor is the fire extinguisher. Just like any other fire extinguisher in the aircraft, we're going to make sure that the pin is in, it's secured, and we have good pressure, and that it's good to go and ready. So I make sure that the pin is in, that it's not obstructed in any way, and that's all I'm really looking for there. Okay, again on the right hand side is the goggles, and you can see the goggle indication right there. Give it a squeeze, make sure that they're there. Having a really good look here on the right hand side. So this is modeled extremely well in the Hot Start Challenger 650. So we have our CVR testing equipment here, maintenance stuff, and our audio warning DCU and DCU 1, DCU 2, our emergency passenger oxygen system. So we have a therapeutic oxygen system here that we can turn on and off, which I'll show you once we look in the cabin where that's located. And the passenger oxygen, this is what we would actually, if it wasn't automatically deployed, we could drop them down, and that's part of a QRH procedure. And for something like referring to as QRH. Again, looking at the oxygen system here, you can see very clearly here that it says 100% and it's down. It's very important that it is in that situation at all times. Okay, continuing to look here, flashlight on this side, and we have all the crew materials that are required, reference material, checklist, all of that kind of thing. It's all there. And good old days of today, we got all of our sanitization and gloves and our sanitizer there. So not too exciting, but continuing on our look here. Okay, so we've had a really good look in here. Again, circuit breakers checked over here. This is all checked over here now. This is checked. This is checked. We're going to come back to the Essex smoke hood. Okay, so looking at the slideshow again here, we've got the Essex smoke hood, which I said to you is on the left hand and the right hand side. So it's in a small little package, and you lift this cover up, and lo and behold, this special pilot and co-pilot mask, and this is really all you have. You can see the back of it here shortly, but you put this over top of the oxygen system. So you have to think of it like this: is you're going to be flying along, there's some kind of an emergency. The first thing you're going to do is remove your headset. Okay, the next thing you're going to do is don your oxygen mask, confirm it's on 100%, switch over your mic to oxygen mask versus boom, and then you're going to put this thing over your head, and you might be able to get a good look at it here, but you can see it's all wrapped up in this tightly wrapped up plastic bag. It's going to be kind of tough to get over your head. I mean, it's like a rubber dam that has to go over top of your head. So you're going to need it. But it's going to be challenging. Again, that's where it's stored, and we just want to make sure it's there. Okay, so we've had a really good look around the flight deck. There, we've done all the safety equipment. Typically at this point now, we're going to pull out the logbook, verify that there's certainly time on the aircraft remaining for the period that you're going to be doing. Verify that there's no MEL type concerns, and if there's any snags you need to look at, those kind of things. That's where this is all going to happen. We could look up here. There's really nothing you're going to do at this point. This is just a safety inspection, and there's a good view of Victoria Airport there. This is CYYJ, Victoria Airport near Vancouver, British Columbia. Okay, coming back here now, we're going to come into the hallway. So refer this to as the closet. And this closet area right here is not really modeled too well at the moment, but I'm sure it will be. So we're going to look at the closet, and we're also going to look at this little cover right here, which is actually where the crew seat is. Okay, so we'll come back to slide here in just a second. And again, this is going to be referred to as the closet. And I'll come back to that. Okay, so now we're looking in the closet. And what you can see there is a portable oxygen bottle. Again, like any other piece of equipment, I want to make sure it's secured properly. It's all ready to go. The pressure is good. And you can see this is used for safety on the ramp. Over on the right-hand side, we got the fire extinguisher. We have a demo kit, and we have the cleaning equipment down here. We also have a life vest for the observer seat, and we have a first aid kit. And up here is it's back here. So we've got one PBE in the back. And the one thing you have to think about is I fly many different aircraft. Some are 605, some are 650. So what I've done for myself is all this emergency equipment, it tends to be in different locations. So I've taken photos of everything on each aircraft, and I can immediately go, if I'm going to do a big trip somewhere, I can just go in there and have a look at where everything is located. Okay. This is one of the hoods. There we go. First aid kit. Okay, so what we've looked at is everything in here. And I believe there's another slide. Coming out of the side of this cabinet right here is going to be, there's a first aid kit. There's a life vest again. And so when the observer is sitting into their observer seat, they really don't have an ability to get into the main cabin in an emergency. This could be a flight attendant or someone observing. So they have their own oxygen system. They have their own audio panel. And again, they have their own life vest. And anybody who sits in that seat has to be qualified. They have to be trained. And in our company, they have to be at least someone definitely who's qualified to sit there. There's a good look at the observer audio panel. Okay, so now we're kind of back in the hallway again, directly across from the closet. So this is the observer seat. And again, it's just a panel along the bottom that pops out, and the seat itself comes out on a rail, and then it all unfolds, and it has a seatbelt system in there, just like the flight deck. So that's just kind of a reminder for myself of how that's all laid out. Okay, so again, we've had a look at the closet. That all looks good. Typically up in this area, this is kind of generally larger. This is where your aircraft, in our case, are going to, things like our credit cards and that kind of thing are kept up there. customs briefing cards or customs declaration cards are up there. We've just looked here. This is the observer seat. One thing I can point out is this little area right here. This is a hatch, and if we open this hatch, it's actually very large. We open it up from here and it lifts forward like this. In here is where spare equipment could be located, documentation for the aircraft, that kind of thing. The other thing that can happen here is if they need to do maintenance in the under bay of this of the aircraft, what they'll do is they'll take this carpet out and undo a bunch of fasteners here, and this entire section comes out and leaving a great big hole that's right here, but it goes underneath the flight deck at this point, and there's a lot of equipment under there. Okay, cool. So we've kind of had a look around here. Obviously this is part of the safety inspection. We want to make sure that all of the equipment that we want for our clients are on board. Everything is washed. We want to make sure that everything is stocked. So this is the point where we're going to be going through all these cabinets here, familiarizing where all the the chocolates and the booze are and that kind of thing, and making sure that they are in fact all on board. And if they're not, then we're going to make sure we restock them, make sure that there's coffee and cups and lids and all of that stuff. Every single time that we do a flight, one of the persons is assigned to go get coffee, or cream, milk, and newspapers on every single flight, and that would all be put into the ice chest there as required. We don't typically have this in there. We normally have drinks in here on ice, that kind of thing. And prior to departure, we're going to have coffee, ice, and papers as mentioned, and there'll be ice in here. There'll be ice in the ice box that's down here, and any specialized drinks or whatever that's required. Catering would be down into here, and there's a storage area for that. Okay, so again, just having a look to make sure everything's good. Now, there was another gentleman that did a video recently, and he was talking about coming on board and making sure all the seat belts are done up. And I absolutely agree with him. He had a really great video. The aircraft is always left in a state of readiness. So wherever we are, we don't land and leave all the chip bags and everything. We get it done so that if we needed to come back to the plane and the client needed to come back kind of in a rush, that we would be able to get going very quickly. So as we're looking through here, I'll just kind of step around here, kind of kneel down here. So we want to make sure that each seat is fully back. We lift this little tab up, and the whole thing kind of it can move backwards. The seat, this can open up. Want to make sure everything is returned back to its regular seating position. We also want to open this up and move the seat away from the wall, make sure that there's no garbage or anything left in there. We also will open this up. On each side of the aircraft, here and over on this side, are trays, and they're typically wood. And everything that you see here is all polished, beautiful polished wood, and basically giant areas for fingerprints to be. So everything that could be possibly touched along here, up here, down here, the tables, the trays, all of that is wiped down. The seatbelts are crossed, or we have a special way that we do them. Underneath here, which you can't see, it's not modeled, and I don't think I have a picture of it. There's actually a tab. It's typically a leather tab that comes out, and it'll say life vest on it. So what would happen in an emergency, the passenger would grab the tab, this little piece would fall off, and the life vest is in a little compartment that's underneath here. The other thing, I'll probably have something to show you here in just a minute, is the location for the cards. And I'm just going to make sure we got that here. So we got, well, actually I do have something more I can show you in the flight deck after. Okay, Okay, the main cabin. Come back to that. Okay, so again, having a really good look. Safety features cards are in here and on each side. Every single passenger has to have one. So we'll make sure everything's okay. Any leather that has any marks on it, we want to clean it with leather wipes, that kind of thing. Special cleaning stuff that we have. Typically down here, there's nothing. Across here, this is kind of very interesting. This is called the divan. And in the divan, underneath here, you're going to see some pictures of these panels folded down. So there's a locking mechanism on there, and they fold down, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's in there, and it's all safety related. We did talk about oxygen in the front cabin. Therapeutic oxygen, that is located in this area, and there's a plug-in kind of right in behind here. It's kind of hard to see, but obviously this is the emergency exit. So in order to get out of this exit, there's typically a little cover. This is kind of a cover model here, but you would grab that handle, the plastic cover, and put it down, and then grab the handle, pull it up, and then the entire, this is all going to be moved out of the way. So everybody's going to move out of the way. And then you might have to throw some cushions away and so that you can get out. And you have to move this 50-pound door inside and then put it into a safe area. So the next thing we're going to look at is some more slides here. Okay, so what we're looking at here is behind one of the seats. You can see there's a fire extinguisher there. Again, pin in, secure, and all ready to go. Pressure's good. Looking really good. So now we're looking at the emergency exit here. As you can see from what's modeled in the Challenger 650s for hot start, it's slightly different. You can see that the divan is not blocking the emergency exit. The panels that you see here, so here's a plastic panel. This comes off. There's a handle underneath there. One thing at this point, if we were away from base, this plastic cover would actually be setting somewhere else, and there would be a pin installed here to prevent someone from the outside getting inside. And you know, that there's been a lot of aircraft damage. I've actually seen airplanes, you know, pilfered, and that's obviously a really bad thing. So there's the emergency exit. I want to make sure it's all secure, all ready to go. There's a therapeutic oxygen inlet right there. So down here, underneath here is where the actual bottle is kept. Okay, there's the emergency exit. How to use it. Might have to move your seat, is what they're trying to get at here. Remove your seat belts. Move the seat ahead, remove the plastic cover, move the big door in, it's rather heavy, lay it down onto the divan, and then exit. So 50 pounds, just over. Okay, there's the therapeutic oxygen, as mentioned. These are power plug-ins. They're throughout the cabin. There's the actual therapeutic oxygen system. So we've got the hose, we've got the mask, and we have the I can't remember exactly what it's called, but there's water that we put in here to make sure that it's not too dry. Again, this is where it's kept. There's a divan, the emergency exit's over here. It's all kept in here. Other safety equipment is kept in here. There could be life vests, that kind of thing. So again, what we're going to look at next, just so that we get a really good idea what's you're going to see here, is underneath this area, the divan, is a bunch of cabinet doors that are going to open up. Okay, there's another look at the emergency exit. There's the storage of the safety briefing cards and the air sickness bags. This is just a picture of the AC voltage, or the AC plugins for laptops, that kind of thing. Here's all the call buttons. Here's the seat retractor. This is what actually moves the seat believe this is the one that moves the footrest in and out. So here is the safety briefing card. As mentioned, every single seat has to have one of these. The other thing we have to do during a safety inspection is verify that everything that's on this card is on the aircraft. So, I mean, all of this is happening very quickly. Just like the walk around I mentioned to you, we obviously don't spend 2 hours and 46 minutes or whatever the video was hanging out, doing that. It's very quick. This whole thing takes approximately half an hour to do. We know exactly what we're looking for, and things happen very, very quickly. But there's a few things I can point out here. The emergency exits, there's 2. There's actually 3. We'll talk about that in a second. So there's the primary exit. There's the secondary exit. And if you could guess where the third one is, I don't have any prizes to give to you, but it is the cargo bay. That is another exit. It's not an officially listed one, but it's definitely one that could be used in a dire emergency, that type of thing. Okay, so just like in airliners, no one reads these things, unfortunately, and we do our best to make sure that people are aware of safety features aboard the aircraft. We do a safety briefing, but it's really important, especially if you've never been on a Challenger business jet before, to know where everything is. And the real big thing is coming up, and that happens to be the ditching type situation. So if we have to ditch, it's obviously a very, very big deal. And we would not be using the main door. We'd be using the overwing exit only. And so just like in a airline situation, you want to retrieve your life vest, which is underneath the seat, as I mentioned. Put it on. Do not inflate it until you get out of the aircraft. That's absolutely critical. And so here is the van, and here are the life rafts. So as you can see, there's a lanyard, and what we do is attach the lanyard to the seat belt. It's obviously very important to attach it to something. So we attach it to the seat belt, and then we bring it outside the aircraft onto the wing, and then by a throwing motion, basically what happens is that when it hits the water, it automatically inflates using CO2 cartridges, and then it is then in the water. And then you follow the procedure. Once everybody's on board, and you got your safety equipment on board, and everybody's on board, then you're going to cut it, and there's a knife to do that in the raft. Okay, so this is kind of the other side of the card, is where all of the safety equipment is that we just talked about. So you can see everything we just talked about is located in all of the different areas. So this is what we're doing in this safety inspection, is verifying everything is there. There's a really good picture of the fold-out table. Want to make sure that's all put away during takeoff and landing. It's how to put a seatbelt on and off. There's a therapeutic oxygen, as you can see. So there's the actual button to turn it off is in the flight deck, which I showed you. And there's a therapeutic oxygen with the water system on there. Okay. So I believe that is that. And we'll head back into the aircraft here. So again, actually there's a few more slides here we'll look at in just a minute. And come right back to them here. And we'll come to the divan. Okay, so this is the divan. So underneath here, we're going to be looking at all of the safety equipment that's in there. Other things I'd be doing, make sure that everything is all set the way it should be. Now, what's kind of weird is that in each aircraft, depending on which airplane you're in, is it may say that this needs to go up or it needs to go down. Most of the ones I've seen, this folds up. This would not be like this. This would be folded inwards. And then there's a latch that's underneath here, and this would be down. It'll say basically on there, this must be in the up position for takeoff or the down position, depending on the aircraft that you're in. Making sure this is all clean. This is all clean along here. All the windows are clean throughout the entire aircraft. Everything is all spick and span, ready to go. And obviously very, very important that we don't leave any wrappers around or anything from other clients. That would be a real bad thing. Okay, standing up, looking around here, looking really good. Okay, now we're going to come back to the slideshow. So now what we're doing is we're looking underneath the divan. These panels pop down. They have latches on them from the outside. And we're looking at the actual life raft. We want to make sure that there is one or two on board. However many there should be. Typically there's two. And they're typically a Winslow life raft. And if you want to check that out, there's a really good video on how they work. You just search Winslow life raft and it'll show you how they work, what's inside of them, and all of that kind of stuff. Every crew member that flies with our company is required to have first aid training, in-pool rescue training, or in-pool survival training. So we have to use life raft and vest and all of that. There's you can see this is rated for 10 passengers or 10 people. It weighs a lot. It's almost 48 pounds. And or 21.9 kilograms, and yeah, you got to know how to use it, or you could cause serious injury or death. So it's important that people pay attention. There we go. It's quite heavy to even just to bring it out of the container. So what you're looking at here is this is where underneath the divan is where the life rafts sit. All of these little pouches here are where the life vests are for all the passengers that would be on the divan or onto the seats beside you. In the back here, we have another fire extinguisher. We also have a PBE. So this is, we require specialized training for every piece of equipment on board the aircraft that would be used for emergencies. So the PBE, personal breathing equipment, there's a procedure to open this all up and don it, and which I won't get into. Just showing you this is where the PBE is located on the aircraft. So this is what would be put on by a crew member in order to fight a fire. And obviously a fire is a very big deal on an aircraft, and you need to know how all of the equipment works really, really well. We also do fire extinguisher training on live fires, which is pretty cool. That's coordinated with our crash fire rescue folks at our airport. So this is an Essex crew member PBE. So we have to train for every type of PBE that we may use. So if the other airplane has a different kind, we have to train on that. So everything that we have on the aircraft, on the different fleet aircraft, we all have to know how to use them. Okay, so there we go. So that's where the PBE is located. And that's where the fire extinguisher is located. And again, once this is all inspected, these cabinets are pushed back up and locked. And I think that's all we got there. There's actually an AED, which is on board all of our aircraft as well. And we have, this is a divan sleeper belt. And more of the belting. So we've had a really good look around here. We could come back into here and have a look. We want to make sure this is all obviously very clean for our passengers. Wipe the sink down, wipe the mirror down, make sure that there's toilet paper. In these storage containers down here are a number of storage areas in there. We have convenient items like hairspray and toothpaste and everything the passenger might have forgotten or might need on board the flight deck, or on board a flight, on a long flight. We definitely would be opening up the I don't know where I'm actually sitting on the seat here now. So we would be lifting this up. We would be making sure that the seat itself is clean, underneath the seat is clean. Once we get power in the aircraft, we're actually going to, the seat works pretty good. I'll have to figure out how to get out of my seat now. And so anyways, so we lift this up, make sure it's all clean, wipe the seat down, make sure the whole area underneath and on the top are all clean. Obviously, we're going to be wearing gloves to do that and making sure that it's all clean. Once the aircraft is fully powered up after we do all these safety inspections, so the next thing, the natural thing would be is to move into the normal procedures checklist, which is the normal power-up checklist after this. Once that's done, we'd come back here, we'd flush the toilet and make sure that it is all working well. So again, this is a safety inspection, but it's also kind of a, make sure the airplane looks fantastic. And this is the point where we might throw a vacuum through here or bring the vacuum in, do a vacuum. It's got to look great all the time. And that's really almost the safety inspection. So we'll head out here and have another quick look at our incredible aircraft. So this is just painted for me today, and I want to thank the person that did it, and that is in the show credits here. So thank you very much. I really appreciate your incredible support of this channel. Over on TikTok, I have 65,000 views of some of my videos. I'm just blown away. I've only been doing this for maybe 2 weeks. So thank you very much for this video. It's Foxtrot Alpha Aviation. This was the safety inspection and getting ready for passengers. Have a great day.